I want to start off saying that your current breakdown is your current breakthrough. I know it might not feel like that, but it is. And this weekend we have a beautiful lunar eclipse happening, a total lunar eclipse happening in the sign of Virgo. So this full moon isn't just your traditional full moon. It's definitely one that is eclipsing something out of your life, one that is asking us to get super real about certain cycles needing to end at this time. And it's going to point us in the right direction. Like, it's going to show you in a very obvious way, like, what cycles need to end, what is now coming to a completion in your life, what has expired or no longer has any specific benefit in your life. So it's going to be obvious. I think it's going to be uncomfortable for some people, and it's certainly going to challenge us in a way where we are really going to have to make a decision. Like, this is very crossroads energy. Anytime with eclipses, it's always this way or that way kind of energy, right? The eclipse is there to eclipse something out of your life. And this eclipse energy, by the way, I feel like has been building for probably, I'm going to say, at least 2 to 3 weeks now. Like, I have felt significant buildup, emotional buildup, especially because we also had Mars in Cancer, still have Mars in Cancer. So there's this very deep emotionality coming to the forefront here. There's also major endings and major transitions kind of energy with it. So it is something that would be considered uncomfortable or would be considered uneasy to move through. And it's always uneasy to move through a big change or a big transition in our lives because it really requires us to give something up. It really requires us to let something go that has been holding us back, that has been preventing us from moving forward. And there is another long-standing cycle here that's being closed out with this Virgo full moon energy. It's perfectly lined up with the spring equinox that is coming, which is going to be the official brand new beginning of a new astrological year. So we're actually wrapping up the last couple of weeks of the energy of 2024. So this is like this wrapping up cycle, and this eclipse, and then there's going to be a second eclipse. Both of these eclipses, first it's the lunar eclipse and then a solar eclipse, are pointing us to our true north. They are pointing us to the direction that we are meant to go, that we are meant to be in. And this is going to come with breakdowns. It is going to come with certain experiences that are going to just really test you. Because, like I said, there is this need to leave something behind in order for a new cycle to begin. So it's like the new cycle cannot begin on old energy. And I think for many of us, and I know personally I've experienced this can cause a tremendous amount of feeling of exhaustion, tiredness, burnout even. This feeling of being drained. And it can show up in either of these areas of your life. So this could be like feeling drained spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. But I'm going to say that feeling drained on a more emotional level, so just feeling really at the end of your tether, really like you've just been pushed to the max when it comes to certain emotions. That's, I think, what we're going to feel the most intensely because Mars is in Cancer. And now that Mars is forward moving, it's really, really pushing us to like get into our feels, to stop bypassing, to stop ignoring certain feelings, and to really sit with, to really embrace some of the uncomfortable energies that are coming up, because those uncomfortable energies are so tied to that breakdown process, right? And it's important to feel the breakdown, to give yourself permission to sort of be in the energy of the breakdown, because that is what's paving the path forward to the new beginning, right? It's like that breakdown has to happen for a new beginning to start. And when we are under eclipse energy, the eclipse energy reminds us that we have come as far as we could possibly come with a certain cycle in our lives, and that it's time to pivot. It's time to transition. It's time to look in a new direction, to move in a new direction, to do things in a new way. Because it's like you've maxed out your growth capacity in that previous cycle. It's like you've come as far as you can possibly come. You've grown as much as you can possibly grow in that last cycle. And now, in order for you to continue growing, to continue evolving, you're going to need new experiences. You're going to need to do things differently. You're going to need to allow yourself to feel differently about certain things so that you can really experience a new level of growth, and it's going to be in different areas of your life. Because usually what happens is we transition from one cycle to the next. So it's like if you've completed a growth cycle in a certain area of your life, then a new growth cycle is going to begin, but it's going to be in probably a different area of your life. Or if it's in the same area of life, it's just going to be significantly in contrast to the previous cycle that you've experienced. So if it has been like really, really hard, for example, emotionally for you, like you've just been tried and tested over and over emotionally, then that cycle now ending is initiating you into a new cycle where things actually become easier emotionally. You start to experience more fulfillment, more joy, more happiness, and just things shifting in your life in a way where it's going to bring in the opposite. Okay, so the opposite of the challenge, right? It's relief, it's joyful, blissful experiences. So there's definitely a test of faith here, a test of resilience, a test of your endurance, a test of your willpower, because all of that is required to sort of pass this final test, right? It's like the final boss in Super Mario or something like that. Like, you're going to need to be persistent. You're going to need to have patience. You're going to need to just approach the situation with a level of resilience like you've never approached a situation before in order to just move through this final hump and get on the other side. And when we are looking at cycles ending, as this lunar eclipse and this full moon right now is indicating to us, what we have to keep in mind with cycles ending is that there are certain rules that govern cycles. And one of the rules that is applicable to a cycle ending is always decline. So it's like when you reach peak learning, you get to this like maximum within your growth cycle, then that is usually followed by like a sense of decline or followed by an actual experience of decline. And what that means is that you move through this period of beginning something new, but that something new doesn't necessarily just take off all that easily, or it doesn't necessarily start off with all rainbows and butterflies. Like, there is going to be some kind of challenge involved with that new beginning. So it's like it's going to challenge you in some form or another so that you can have that new beginning, right? So that's that declining at the end stage. And that's usually how you know too that you are done with a cycle, that you are wrapping up something, because it just starts to get so hard that it just feels like you are absolutely stretched to your max. And this is like emotionally, mentally, spiritually, maybe even physically, right? You're actually just pushed to the brink of breaking, not even to the brink, but to a breaking point. And that is why this current energy, and this is why I started the video saying that right now we are in this breakdown cycle, which is initiating or starting a breakthrough. It's what's calling it in. It is what is making it possible to experience. So it's like the breakdown has to happen so that the breakthrough can happen. They can't be separated. So experiencing decline at the end of a phase or at the end of a cycle is completely normal and natural. And I think it scares so many people, right? Because you think, oh my God, like, what the hell? Like, it can't get any worse. But really, it's just a very temporary period in your transformation. So I want you to look at it as such, like the breakdown isn't going to last forever. I promise you that. It is only going to last for a certain period of time. And the way I have come to understand and notice is that the more that you resist your ascension, your progress forward, your growth, right? The more that we hang on to comfort zones, the more that we hang on to things that don't serve us or people or relationships that don't serve us, the more we're actually just delaying, and we're exponentially lengthening this decline process or this breakdown process. Like, so it just makes it so much harder and it lasts so much longer, because if you're not aware, right, and you just are super insistent on sticking to how it was or how it used to be, or just not really wanting to make a change that in reality is for the better for you, whether you see that or not, right? The more that we resist, the more the problem persists, basically, the more the breakdown, the decline persists. So choosing to move through this initial phase of decline due to changes that we're making and like fully embracing the change, fully moving into it, like on purpose and consciously, actually allows you to gain so much experience. This is where you get to fully experience your own resilience, your own power, your own strength, your own divinity. Like when you push through something really hard, that's when you're like, holy shit, like I didn't think I was going to even survive that, like emotionally, or I didn't even think I was going to make it through that experience. And yet here I am on the other side of it now, right? So there's a really valuable lesson here that this full moon in Virgo wants to teach us about resilience, about sticking it through and not giving up and persevering and really taking control of your willpower and directing that willpower to power through the situation. Because in reality, like nobody wants to be just like thrust into a new situation, right? Without knowing, how things are going to play out, how, whether there's even a safety net to catch you there, or without really knowing what you're signing up for. And yet this is exactly what this lunar eclipse is asking of us. And it's asking that of each and every single one of us. So in whatever area of your life is affected right now, whatever area of your life you feel most upheaval in, you're really being asked to trust. You're really being asked to have faith, to continue to have faith in yourself and the divine working things out for you and co-creating with the divine. Like we're really being asked to trust ourselves on a very deep level, trusting the direction that we want to take. And just knowing that, that's what's best for me. And that's what I feel in my heart and my soul, that this is what's best for me, whether 1,000 people around me are saying the opposite, whether a whole bunch of people are disagreeing with me or calling me crazy or thinking that I'm out of my mind. This like leap of faith energy is what is being called forth under this lunar eclipse. Remember, the moon also has to do with the emotions, right? It connects very deeply to our emotions and to feminine energy, right? So this is a connection to your own emotions, your own feelings about things, really trusting that, really trusting what you are meant to be receiving at this time, or like really opening yourself up to receiving at this time. So this lunar eclipse is offering us a really awesome opportunity to reconsider what we truly want at this time. Like I said, drowning out the external noise and just really going within ourselves and trusting what we want, having faith in what we want and what we desire, and having faith and trust within ourselves that what we desire is right for us, because we wouldn't desire it otherwise, right? This is also about reconsidering like what you're committed to, who you're committed to, what or who you're attracted to, what are you invested in at this time, particularly energetically, like what are you energetically invested in? Where do you place most of your focus or most of your attention throughout the day, on what or on who or on, what kind of work or whatever. So there's this massive like reassessment energy here too with this full moon. So really take some time this weekend to like feel into this, to think into this, right? Both the mind and the heart are very activated under this energy. So we're really being asked to tap into what feels best and then taking that leap of faith and moving forward in that new direction. And speaking of direction, what is the direction that you want to move in? What kind of a foundation do you want to build for yourself moving forward, right? There's this sort of theme or energy of foundations as well, like really, really looking at our foundations. What are we resting upon? What are we building upon? And is that foundation strong enough to hold up the next chapter? Is it strong enough? Is it firm enough? Is it rooted and grounded and anchored enough in divinity, in heart-centeredness, in clarity, that it is going to hold the ground beneath us for this next phase of our journey, for all of this new that we are going to be building upon it. There's also going to be fated breakthroughs and surprises coming in with this lunar eclipse. So we're being initiated basically into our new cycle with some kind of a miraculous event happening, something fated happening, something that's like destined to happen, can very well come in right now. This is all dependent upon our own alignment. It's all dependent upon how much we're willing to leave that past comfort zone, right? Close that cycle out, end it, close the door on it for good, so that we can have this new beginning, so that we are in alignment energetically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually with the new that wants to come in, with openness, with receiving. So there's a bit of a test here too around, how open are you to receiving? How open are you to allowing, to surrendering? Now, looking at the sign of Virgo a little bit more closely, Virgo is associated with our daily routines, daily habits, our lifestyle, our health, our diets, discipline. So this full moon is asking us to release any habits and routines that have defined you. So this full moon essentially is offering us this break in the patterning that has held us or locked us in place, right? What are the things that you have repeatedly done over and over on a daily basis, or on a monthly or weekly or yearly basis? What are the things that you always do that intuitively, because we always know intuitively how we, mess ourselves over, or how we give our power away to certain habits, to certain things that we're doing that really are just a comfort zone thing. So whatever has held you in place for a long time, there's something external to you that may happen or that may come into your life to sort of break that patterning, to give you this like shifted perspective, to help you actually overcome some type of a comfort zone and really lean into a new way of doing things, like a new cycle. And some of these breakdowns too, I just want to kind of add in here that the breakdown can also come through health, right? Because Virgo is health. And so it can be some type of a health breakthrough where you may experience some kind of a breakdown first with your health, which then actually provides this breakthrough, right? Because it made you investigate, right? Maybe it made you go to the doctor. Maybe it had you going and checking something out. That's been sort of this like long-standing pain in the body somewhere, right? And then maybe they end up finding something that ends up becoming the breakthrough. It's like, oh, finally, now we know, what has been causing this health issue. And then you're able to start taking action to heal that, right? To repair the problem. So the breakdowns and the breakthroughs can come through in many different ways for us at this time. Like I said, it will be very specific to you and whatever is or has been long-standing in your life that hasn't changed, or that's been very the same for a long period of time. Those are the areas usually that the breakdowns and breakthroughs come through. The sign of Virgo is also connected to work, to your career, to a job. So there's also like a theme of harvest here, where you could be harvesting or gaining something from your work or from the hard work that you have done for a long period of time. Again, these are long-standing cycles here that we're ending right now. So with this theme of harvest, we're asked to look at, how have things been working? What have you been reaping from the efforts that you have put in? So this is about work or time or energy invested in things. And what have you received back from that investment? What has been coming into your life as a result of that investment? And is that enough? Is that working? So this is like what needs to be simplified, what needs to be minimized or downsized that is not useful, that's not effective, that isn't producing the results that you want for the amount of effort and energy that you're putting into it. So in other words, what is taking up valuable time and resources and not producing reward? That is something to look at as well under this full moon. And this is something actually I've noticed that is already playing out and already has been playing out in the collective. Like I was looking at, I saw recently that I think both Walmart and Toys R Us, and that's just like two bigger names, but there is so many different businesses that are currently downsizing. So they're revamping or reevaluating like their operations and how they're doing things. They're definitely cutting a lot of expenses. They're cutting a lot of different sources that are like draining a lot of money or draining a lot of energy without producing enough of an output, basically. This also means more performance reviews. So Virgo is definitely like boss or hierarchy or authority figures. So there's a lot of that as well coming to play right now, where different bosses, authority figures are coming out and they're like calling out for changes, right? They're doing these performance reviews and really kind of putting everyone under the microscope and just seeing, what is your output that you're producing at this company here? Is it worthwhile to keep you on? That kind of thing. So a lot of job losses, a lot of shifting in positions in jobs and careers, a lot of financial shifting happening as well right now under this full moon. So there is a lot of change, like a lot of change. And I had mentioned in my previous newsletter that the world itself is going through this massive, like, identity crisis. Like we're all moving through this huge identity crisis at this time where so many of us are needing to change who we are or change how we operate in this world, right? And this includes macro, micro, right? So this is you on an individual level. And then this is also large corporations and businesses and companies, right? That are influencing the masses, right? Because they're probably providing a ton of jobs. And maybe a lot of those jobs are now getting taken away as a result of these review under the microscope energy. Which, of course, this also means this breakdown can come through difficulty, right? What did I say earlier about the breakdowns? How there's always some type of a decline that happens first as a result, right? So this could be bosses even being really, really critical of their staff or of certain people or managers. This is like judgmental, like grading type of energy, like grading you between like 1 and 10, right? Of where you fit in terms of your production, in terms of your output, in terms of your value, even coming from authority figures. This is also like nitpicking, pointing out flaws, duties, responsibilities. Everything that can come under the microscope right now is coming under the microscope basically for review. So just know, like, don't take any of this personally. If this is something that you're going through right now and experiencing at work, then don't take this personally. This is what the energies are doing. This is how it's playing out. And there will be some type of a positive as a result of all of this happening. So maybe you've been a little bit too comfortable in your job, right? And just kind of going through this sort of monotonous day in and day out Groundhog Day, right? And maybe this shakeup is sort of necessary right now for you to tap into more of your gifts and more of your creativity and to help you see how you can or could contribute better if you applied yourself differently, right? So there's going to be a lot of positive regardless, I think, when these big changes happen. Yes, it could be scary if you're losing a job, especially if you're losing it unexpectedly. But again, that is going to force you into looking at other options, looking at better possibilities. Remember, a breakdown is always an indication of something ending that no longer serves your life. Even if you felt like it was serving, even if you felt like it was having a good impact on your life, or that it wasn't something that you were ready to end, it still is pushing you towards something better. And this is where that leap of faith, that trust, that faith needs to come in that I talked about before. Because all of these themes are really connected and tied into needing to change the daily routine. That's Virgo. So that energy can open up in your life, and that energy, when you open energy up by changing your daily routines, by doing something different, what you're doing is you're expanding your possibilities. You're opening yourself up to more. You're opening yourself up to surprises, to pleasant, unexpected miracles, because you're showing the universe that, hey, I'm willing to change. I'm willing to make sacrifices. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to pull myself out of this stagnating cycle and explore other options. And when we do this, this is what truly allows us to move forward with greater ease, with greater expansion, and with greater speed. It's like it launches us into the next phase of our journey that will just be like, well, here it is. It's starting, and it's starting now. So this energy is really asking us to elevate, to rise to the challenge, to overcome something difficult that will allow us to move into the next cycle. So these are like final tests for karmic release. And by karmic release, I'm talking about letting go of behaviors, patterns, actions within you that create negative karma for yourself. So it's like, really simple example is like changing that coffee addiction. You know, that is going to create something positive in your life, because while you're addicted to coffee, and maybe you even like coffee quite a bit, the reality is that an overconsumption of coffee is not good for you, right? So like I said, it's going to show up in so many different ways, in the most minute detail that you would think is like not even relevant to grander details, like and influencing like bigger aspects, bigger parts of your life. So we're in a very deeply spiritual, very deeply transformative energy until the end of March. This is really going to push us into connecting deeper, to trusting deeper, to taking that leap of faith, to leaving things that don't serve. It's going to challenge us to go for those things that we never went for before, maybe because we were scared, to try something new that really pushes you out of your comfort zone, to really, really switch up like how you show up on a daily basis, the things that you do on a daily basis. And of course, none of this sacrifice or none of these changes are going to come without reward. There's always reward. And that is what Spirit is trying to guide us towards, right? Is can you allow yourself to experience the reward from all of your efforts, from everything that you've invested, time, energy, love, attention, focus into things that have been growing you, into things that have challenged you to overcome your own limitations. There is huge rewards, right? And in this month, and even beginning right now with this full moon, there is this opportunity for literally miraculous changes, for unexpected turnarounds, like for situations to all of a sudden go from terrible to like blissful. It's like you will experience some type of divine confirmation that you will not be able to deny that, oh my God, this is definitely the divine playing out in my life. This is definitely divine intervention, because it can't be anything other than that. Like, it will be undeniable. But that requires letting go of something that once was, that once served. It's about that sacrifice. It's about giving that up. It's like God is saying, like, hey, give me your old stagnant energy and give me your old stagnant cycles and let me put you into a brand new one. I promise you're going to love it. That's the kind of energy we're under. And it's important at this time too, to preserve your energy, to conserve your energy. Save it for what matters most. So this is not the time to get involved in drama. This is not the time to be very externally focused, where you're looking at the news or paying attention to other people's dramas or getting involved in them. This full moon in Virgo says, live your life on purpose every single day and in every single moment. Make the changes that you can make, that is within your power to make, and leave the rest behind. And just as a quick reminder, of course, we do have Venus in retrograde. Mercury is now also in retrograde. So the retrograde energies are just perfect and divinely timed with everything else, right? Reminding us that we need to reconsider, reevaluate, redo, rethink something, also reconcile something. During retrogrades is when reconciliation energy shows up quite heavily. And what that means is that this is the time, and especially right now, this is the time to reconcile old karmic debts. This means any karmic debt that you owe someone or that you are owed is going to be reconciled under this energy, or can be reconciled under this energy. Of course, everyone has free will. So this is a choice that we each have to make for ourselves. So this is a great time to apologize. This is a great time to make amends with someone that perhaps you have had a rift with for a long time. And maybe you're aware that the rift is something that you caused, right? Or just owning basically your side of it, right? It's not even necessarily that it's all on you, because it never is. It takes two to tango, but it could be very well something that you maybe initiated or something you said or whatever. So definitely reconciliation energy also present with this. And with Mercury's influence, there's definitely a highlight here on money matters, and Virgo also influences money matters right now. So this is not, I repeat, not the time to invest in any stocks. It is not the time to make any large purchases even. So don't, it's not a good time to like buy electronics or buy anything that's of like higher value at this time, any appliances, things like that, buying a car, buying a house. The house, anything that has and was already in the works before the retrogrades began is fair game, is okay. Like if you're just closing a deal on something, but even contracts are highlighted under this energy. So really, really reading the fine print, read between the lines, ask a lot of questions. This is a very good time to make yourself very, very aware of all of the details, know all of the details, because things can go a little bit off or screwy with this energy, or details could just simply be missed. Pay attention to specific communication with Mercury in this influence. Mercury is reminding us that all communications, especially social media communications right now, can also be a little bit more tense or weird. And keep an eye out for any kind of like offerings or posts or ads or anything like that have to do with like investing or buying into something. Definitely do your due diligence, do your homework, because these are things, like I said, right now that are very much just under an influence that can make them seem better than they are. So just keep that in mind. So that's everything I want to mention under this eclipse, under this Virgo full moon, because it's important to understand all the different aspects of how we are influenced by the energies that are playing out. It's important to understand how much influence we actually have, what choices we need to make at this time that are going to propel us forward, that are going to help us leave things behind that are truly not serving, that are helping us to leave mindsets, mentality, attitudes, perceptions behind that have maybe held us back or have sort of locked us in a certain pattern, a certain way of living, right? So really look at your life. It is under the microscope by spirit. So, put it under the microscope for yourself so that you can really get real about what you have the power to control, what you have the power to change at this time, and what you don't. And the stuff you don't have power to control or change, leave that stuff behind. Just focus on the things you can change, and that will be enough. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.